everybody, and welcome to 2021, Season 1, Week 4. That makes it Episode 4 of Hot Takes. My name is TJ. I'm joined by Sottle, per usual. Sottle, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm loving the enthusiasm that you brought to your intro there, TJ. Clearly reinvigorated for some hot takes by 2 weeks of Specialist. I'm looking forward to getting started.
2 weeks of Specialist. We also had a Masters tour in between where we didn't record a Hot Takes episode, so
True.
Maybe we'll try and splash some Masters tour references in there, if you want. But without further ado, let's get into Hot Take number 1. Hot Take number 1. Priest is favored versus Mage. Key point here, favored is spelled with a U. People are just playing and building it badly.
Okay, so we've narrowed down who submitted the hot take, at least, to one of the boys, one of the lads from the fine British Isles.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's nonsense. If anything, I feel like I've been fighting the cause the other way. I feel like when things kicked off, that was kind of the more popular opinion, that Priest was favoured, and I've been banging the drum that it was Mage favoured and quite heavily Mage favoured for quite some time, and I think that's been borne out in the results that we've had overall. Obviously, it's hard to say with Specialists because players are teching back and forwards, and you're not getting like true representative of just generic builds up against each other. But I think honestly, like, more skill expression goes over to the Mage as well in that matchup. I think there's lots of mistakes that you can make as the Mage in terms of like card draw, card hoarding, when sequencing your draws, which secrets to pick, all that stuff. I feel like the Priest game plan is fairly linear, so I feel like even at higher levels I would expect more of an edge going over to the Mage.
I'm going to disagree here, Sottle. Going to disagree.
No way!
Yeah, surprise, surprise. You know, one of these days I'm just going to be like, yeah, I mean, you're right. Today is not that day. So I've been playing a lot of Priest vs. Mage. In fact, High Legend on America's Ladder right now is almost entirely Priests and Mages.
Yep.
And so it's very hard to not run into that matchup. And I feel like unless I'm getting like crazy double flow shenanigans, it is very hard to beat the current iterations of Priests on ladder, with, you know, Devouring Plague, with additional healing, with Flesh Giants, right? It feels like they're killing your board if you have one, and playing a minion every turn, which makes it so it's hard to like throw burn to face if you're respecting the minions and the possibility of apotheosis. So,
right.
I feel like I was in the same camp a week ago. Even throughout the Masters tour, I was like, Priest is getting banned, you know? And I was wondering why, but I think it's because people were starting to catch on that Priest is just the goods right now. It just beats everything. And unless you have a great start, I think that it is just Priest favored.
I suppose we do have to delineate to an extent, right, what we're talking about. Like, are we... Because I guess part of the hot take is building it badly, right? So does that include the idea that, you know, you should be playing Giants Priest instead of the straight-up Control Priest, what your top end is, all that kind of stuff? Because I definitely do think that stuff makes a difference. And I know some people, like, some of the specialist techs that we saw coming in, like Onyx Mage Scribe, just big, thick, high-health minions coming down in the mid-game are obviously a problem for Mage because they only have so many devolving missiles. So if you're playing a lot of that stuff, naturally that can change it. But yeah, I guess when I answer the question, I'm kind of looking at it classically Control Priest, and you're looking at it Giants Priest instead, I guess. Is that where we are?
Sort of, but they kind of meld together nowadays.
That's true.
It's almost like I have no idea what 30 cards I'm playing against whenever I queue up against a Priest right now. They may have Giants, they may not. The only like indication I get is, all right, well, they had Cthulhu Pieces shuffled in their deck at the beginning of the game, so I know 1 out of their 30 cards, or 5 out of their 34 cards, whatever. But I don't know. It just feels like the longer time goes on, Mage isn't changing, right? Mage just is the same thing, and it's been the same thing, and it's going to be the same thing. There's like all this buzz on Twitter. Oh, I put Deck of Lunacy back on my Mage. Who cares? It's Mage. Like, cool, you were going to discover it from Ruined Orb anyway. But Priest is evolving.
TJ, you have to put Deck of Lunacy into your deck and take it out again, just so you can have strong opinions about whether it's correct or not, and then shout at other people who disagree with you and call them idiots. That's the only joy that you can take from playing Mage. It's very important.
Yeah, like, ooh, got top 10 legend with my new take on Mage. Look, I took out another one, Portal, and I put back in Deck of Lunacy. And then I put out the Deck of Lunacy and I put in Ice Barrier. I'm the best.
It's just content creation 101 right there. Jack someone's deck, change one card, name it after yourself. Boom!
Yep.
HS Top Decks, post it, 1,000 retweets, instant fame and fortune on Twitch. It's just how it works.
Yep. All right. High five. We both get a point. Great hot take. Claps all around. Claps all around. There we go. All right. Hot take number 2. The GMs who were around during early competitive Hearthstone will dominate the LHS weeks. LHS meaning Last Hero Standing, the format that we'll be moving to for the next 2 weeks of Hearthstone Grandmasters, for context.
I like it. It's an interesting question. Certainly, I think part of what motivated this is I believe it was Lambie series posted in our Grandmasters Discord, just saying, like asking some very basic questions about how Last Hero Standing worked, because he just never played a Last Hero Standing tournament before, which A, makes me feel incredibly old, but then B, does bring a lot of perspective to that question. So I do think, the likes of like Tice, RDU, just speaking for the European region, that have been hanging around for many, many years and kind of cut their teeth playing Last Hero Standing when it was the dominant competitive format, will have an advantage, because it functions very differently, and in some ways functions as the complete opposite way to that you build a conquest lineup. And I know a lot of players just are not used to getting that together, and I think a lot of players who don't have LHS experience will be seeking out people who do have LHS experience to practice with this week and actually get some knowledge under their belt. So yeah, I'm inclined to agree with this hot take. Seems solid.
I don't know. I just feel like people haven't played that much Last Hero Standing in a long time, right? There's not that many players left that have played Last Hero Standing, and we never get a chance to see whether or not that's the case. And it's kind of the same for Specialist, right? Like, did the players that did well in Specialist have an advantage because they were playing against people who never played Specialist? It's a lot different of a format, right? It takes some different thinking. I'd say it's just as different from Conquest and Specialist.
TJ, I will have you know that Zim got some points this week, and the last time he did well was when he qualified for GM in Specialist, so your point is invalid.
Did RDU do particularly well in Specialist? Like, look at Nalgidon and Rami. They crushed Specialist. Both of them did. Yeah. Rami, I don't think, played in a Specialist tournament ever prior to Grandmasters. And Nalgidon, no offense, Nalgidon, sorry, he was kind of garbage in Specialist.
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
I don't know. Like, I feel like they're different enough. So, I don't think so. I think, like, fresh ideas, right? Some players come in with these fresh ideas. Ryan bought Warlock. Nobody even practiced against Warlock. Everybody's like, this format's solved. You guys are idiots. Why would you bring Warlock? And then Rami's like, I'm going to bring it. And I'm going to win. And he didn't win, but he got second. Mage still won, but still, wasn't solved after all.
Yeah, I mean, what's the takeaway there, right? But aren't you just too much of a babby caster anyway to have opinions on this? Were you even around when Last Hero Standing was a thing? Do you even know what you're talking about here?
No, I've cast, like, outside of Hearthstone Grand... I mean, that's why I'm arguing against it, right? Because I have literally zero experience to argue for it. I've been casting since 2015, but I only cast Blizzard events. And Blizzard's been using for the first 2 years, right? I cast my first DreamHack in, like, 2017. And that was the first Last Hero Standing tournament that I ever cast. So I didn't know what was going on. I thought people were just rampantly cheating the entire event. And I was too afraid to point it out to anybody. I was just like, I'll just go with it. I'll just cast whatever game they put in front of me. It's fine for me. Well, that one, I'm just going to have to go with my gut. I think I won, so point for me. 2-1. All right. Hot take number 3. Specialist isn't actually that bad. Europe just makes it look bad.
Okay. I mean,
Europe makes everything look bad, but
what? I mean, just outright American xenophobia coming out now, TJ. This is unacceptable, and I will have you cancelled. I'm very happy this came up because I do kind of want to talk about it. The other regions, I will admit, were probably much more entertaining to watch this weekend. You know, we had mostly Mage Mirrors and Mage versus Priest in week 1, and then we had almost entirely Mage Mirrors in week 2. Meanwhile, over in APAC, for example, like Surrender beating Rush Warrior with 2 Patient Assassins in his deck is genuinely one of the coolest things that I've seen in Grandmasters. Like, not just in Specialists, but like across Grandmasters in general. That was like such a sweet moment. Rami just kind of functioning as the meta breaker for 2 weeks in Americas and making really, really good runs was awesome to watch in Americas. Are those things representative of how Specialists should work? In my opinion, no. Like, Rami kind of just high-rolled matchups for 2 weeks, right? And that's the problem. You know, he brought Hunter, and if he'd have run into anything that he couldn't beat, he would have been in an absolute messy situation the first time around. And yes, you can kind of make that guess happen and be rewarded for it, but it is a guess. You don't actually have agency with it. I do think the best, smartest, most solid win rate decision that you can make is to do what the Europeans did and just bring the best deck and make smart tech decisions. So you just kind of end up in this mirror match hell when there is one deck significantly better than every other deck in the metagame.
It's kind of funny because it was the exact opposite when we actually broadcast a full season of Specialists.
That's true.
Was the region that was bringing the best deck. And It was Europe who was trying to, you know, break the meta. And it was even players that still exist in the league today that were doing that in Europe. You know, I remember the weeks that we had 15 out of the 16 players we had in Grandmasters brought Control Bomb Warrior with Elysiana in secondary and tertiary deck. Oh, I remember those well. So I guess the 8-pack is just the promised land.
It must be. Seriously, when are Derek and Gia just going to get tortured, right? Because you and Frodan had it in the first season with the Bomb Warrior mirrors. I think largely since we've gone remote, it's been me and Raven that have had like the 10-hour days with Priest mirrors. It's never been APAC. They just rock up, cast 2 hours of people slinging trees at each other, and then just go back to bed again. Like, it's ridiculous.
And every once in a while they have that like crazy rogue versus mage game that like goes to fatigue and comes down to like Solarian Prime, and they're like, ooh, that game was 20 minutes. Whoa. I'm exhausted.
I've really put a shift in today, guys. Whoa.
Yeah. All right. You get a point for that one, sure. 2-2, and now I have a bonus hot take.
What?
Okay. Yep. Bonus hot take. Hot take number 4.
Okay.
Blitzchung is going to win Last Hero Standing with Token Druid next week, too.
I mean, he could. It's very possible, right? The same strategy stands. I'd love to see him just submit autocomplete decks or, like, the battle-ready decks, right? Just buy 2 of them and just submit them as his other decks because he knows he's just going to straight-up sweep with Token Druid and just not have to switch off at all. It's very, very possible, but no. I mean, I still stand by the fact that Token Druid is not a good deck, actually, and that Blitzchung kind of just did the same thing that Rami did last time around in the Americas region, right? He just hit the right matchups. He drew very well with Token Druid. I don't think it's going to hold up through a format change. I think Token Druid's going to fall flat on its behind.
All right, well, you know, only time will tell. I'm just going to straight up disagree, not even give any reasoning behind why I disagree. The one thing I am going to do, though, is give Blitzchung 3 hot takes bonus points this week. Just to help him on his quest, bring Token Druid next week, and win Last Hero Standing. And that does mean that I do not win this episode of Hot Takes, but it also means that, more importantly, Sottle still loses. And that's what we're all here for.
And also that I've been overtaken in the all-time Hot Takes Winners League table by Blitzchung, a person who has never actually appeared on the show. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, so Blitzchung, congratulations for winning week 4 of Hot Takes. But that's going to do it from us. Next week, we are going to move into, as we alluded to, Last Hero Standing for week number 5 of Grandmasters. Should be exciting. Should be a cool race. See who's going to qualify. for that playoffs. So join us then. But that's going to do it. Sal, thanks for joining me again, and we'll see you next week for more hot takes.